One of my wife's lovers held a knife to my throat, sneering. "Now you're real cuckold. Watch while we have fun with her." As they mocked me, my wife smirked. "Watch, bastard," she said, "and maybe you'll learn how to treat me." But they didn't realize who they were messing with. I found the first one later that night and sent him to the ICU with a bat. As for the others, I had something far worse planned. The blade felt cold against my skin, its sharp edge just close enough to draw a bead of blood. I was tied to a chair in the middle of my living room, leather straps digging into my wrists and ankles. Victor, the largest of three, towered over me, his sneer full of disdain. His cronies, Emile and Marco, flanked him, their laughter echoing through the room. Across from me, Sophia, my wife of 10 years, lounged on the couch, sipping wine as though this were just a casual gathering. Her black dress clung to her figure and her heels dangled from one foot. She sat with a languid, smug posture, tilting her head as she looked at me, her lips curling into a cruel smile. "Now you're a real cuckold," Victor hissed, his voice mocking. "Watch while we have fun with her." I clenched my jaw, my pulse pounding in my ears. Sophia leaned forward, her eyes locking onto mine. "Watch, bastard," she said, her voice laced with venom. "Maybe you'll learn how to treat me properly." Her words stung like acid, each one cutting deeper than the blade ever could. They laughed at me, all of them basking in the superiority they felt. But what they didn't know, what none of them could see, was that this wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of theirs. Sophia and I had once been a couple everyone envied. She was captivating, sharp, beautiful, and ambitious. We met at a luxury hotel in Vienna where I worked as the operations manager, and she was an events coordinator. Our chemistry was immediate, our connection intense. Within a year, we were married and building a life together in Zurich. But over time, cracks began to form. My long hours at work put a strain on our relationship, and Sophia grew restless. She thrived on attention, on being admired, and I couldn't always provide that. I noticed the changes, the secret phone calls, the sudden nights out, the way she pulled away when I tried to hold her. I told myself it was just a phase, that we could fix it. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago when I found the messages. Her phone buzzed late at night while she was in the shower. The name Marco flashed on the screen. I hesitated, guilt eating at me, but curiosity won. The messages were explicit, full of promises of stolen nights and forbidden pleasures. And Marco wasn't the only one. Victor and Emile had their own threads, each more damning than the last. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was living a double life. The next evening, I confronted Sophia. I laid the evidence in front of her, screenshots of the messages, receipts for hotel stays, photos from the private investigator I had hired. She didn't deny it. In fact, she laughed. "You've been playing detective?" she sneered, pouring herself a glass of wine. "How pathetic, Sophia," I said, my voice trembling with anger and heartbreak. "How could you do this?" She shrugged, unbothered. "Because you're boring, Elias. You bury yourself in work and don't see me anymore. Victor, Marco, Emile, they know how to treat me. They make me feel alive." Her words gutted me, but I held my composure. "You're throwing away everything we built?" I said, my voice cold. "For what? For them. For fun," she smirked. "And you'll never be man enough to stop me." Sophia must have told them about our confrontation because 2 nights later I came home to find all 3 of them in my house. Victor was sitting in my chair, his feet casually resting on the coffee table. Marco and Emile stood beside him, each holding a beer as if they owned the place, and there was Sophia sitting between them, laughing, her laugh slicing through the air like a dagger in my chest. Before I could react, Victor rose to his feet, his imposing frame blocking the doorway. "Sit down," he commanded, his voice thick with menace. I didn't move. "Get out of my house," I said, my voice steady but cold. Victor chuckled. "You don't make the rules here." He pulled a gleaming knife from his pocket, the blade catching the light. "Now sit down." I hesitated, fury boiling beneath my skin, but I knew I was outnumbered. Reluctantly, I took the seat they pushed me into. Emile quickly tied my wrists and ankles with leather straps. Victor leaned in close, his hot breath against my face. "Now you're a real cuckold," he hissed, his voice laced with mockery. "Watch while we have fun with her." Sophia smirked, her eyes cold and unfeeling. "Watch, bastard," she sneered. "Maybe you'll learn something." The humiliation was unbearable. They mocked me, degraded me, their laughter ringing in my ears. But even as I sat there bound and helpless, my mind was working. I memorized every detail, every word, every smirk, every arrogant gesture. I swore to myself they would pay. The first to fall was Victor. I waited for the perfect opportunity, studying his movements. He worked as a bouncer at an exclusive nightclub, and every night after his shift, he walked alone to his car in the back alley. It was a perfect setting, dark, isolated, quiet. One night, I followed him, a baseball bat hidden under my coat. As he reached his car, I stepped out of the shadows. "Elias," he laughed. "What are you to do, huh?" I didn't answer. I swung the bat with all my strength, the impact cracking against his ribs. He crumpled to the ground, gasping for air, but I didn't stop. Blow after blow, I released all the anger and humiliation he had caused me. By the time I was done, he was barely conscious, his body broken and bloodied. I left him there knowing someone would find him soon. He'd live, but he would never forget. Next were Emile and Marco, but their fates would be much worse. I gathered every shred of evidence I had. Photos, messages, and videos from hidden cameras I had installed in the house. Emile, married with 2 children, had built his entire life on a facade of respectability. Marco, a rising star in the art world, had carefully curated his reputation. I exposed them both. I sent the evidence to Emile's wife, ensuring she saw every explicit detail. She filed for divorce the next day, taking the kids and half his assets. His employer caught wind of the scandal and fired him, leaving him penniless and alone. For Marco, I went public. I leaked everything to the media, ensuring his name became synonymous with scandal. Galleries dropped him, clients abandoned him, and his career was ruined. As for Sophia, I served her divorce papers and froze our joint accounts. I made sure she had nothing left, no money, no reputation, no allies. The woman who had once smirked at me now begged for mercy. Months later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, watching the city lights shimmer in the distance. Victor was still in the hospital, recovering from injuries that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Emile was working odd jobs to make ends meet, his family gone. Marco had fled the city, his name a stain in the art world. And Sophia, she was a ghost, her glamorous life reduced to ashes. The best revenge isn't just about destruction. It's about making them live with the consequences of their actions. As I sipped my drink, a thought crossed my mind. Some betrayals don't break us. They make us stronger, and stronger I have become.